I'm Zahid Bashir. This is a joint paper by us. The title of the paper is Subjective Vitality Perceptions Among Adolescent Balti Speakers of Kargil, an Ethno-Linguistic Study. Since we know globalization has blessed us on the one hand, but on the other hand, globalization has adversely affected the survival and vitality of many minority and lesser known languages all over the world. These minority languages in intergroup situations face endangerment on a larger scale, as many communities shift from their heritage language to economically more powerful and more politically more powerful languages. Minority languages in intergroup situations face endangerment. This was researched by Austin and Sabelong. It was actually the time when UNESCO General Assembly took the Endangered Language Project and Red Book of Endangered Languages in November 1993 that language endangerment as an academic enterprise has seen tremendous growth. The appeal made at the Quebec Conference of Linguistics in 1992 to UNESCO was also threatening, which stated that the extension of languages is progressing rapidly in many parts of the world, and it is of the highest importance the linguistic profession should realize that it has to set up its descriptive efforts, quoted in 2002. Thus, in many parts of the world and in many places, national and international policies have been put in place to safeguard minority languages and to enhance their maintenance and survival. At the same time, Mike pointed to an alarming condition of the world's language by estimating that by the end of the 21st century, around 3,000 languages, which constitute 90% of the world's languages, would be severely endangered. Cross 1992. So by these conferences and by these alarming situations and putting all the research, the global responses to challenges of language loss concretized along two dimensions. First, language loss became the concern of the common man, and consequently it began to be discussed in public domains, especially by social and government workers, anthropologists, specialists, politicians, etc. And secondly, the professional linguists around the world set forth to research and understand the issue of language loss or language death and provide solutions to counter the colossal loss to humanity. But thankfully, over the course of last more than 2 decades, a substantial body of literature has been researched out by linguists working in diversified contexts around the globe, explaining the complexities of language loss and language death. Several theories have been put forward to assess the severity of language, and at the same time, strategies have been adopted to revitalize these languages. The pioneering work was done by Fishman in his work, Reversing Language Shift. Fishman proposed a scale to measure the degree to which a language is at risk. The 8-point scale known as GIDS, that's Graded Interdisruption Scale, mostly used to prevent a reverse language shift. According to Fishman, GIDS is a logical set of priorities or targets to guide RL's efforts towards a desired goal. Number according to a language on GIDS scale reflected the severity of the disruption of a language. Higher the number, the greater is the disruption, and greater are the required efforts to counter or reverse the language shift. According to GIDS, all the languages are at number 6. That reflects a situation in which a dominant language has occupied the formal contexts. Building further on GIDS scale, Lewis and Simmons in 2010 produced an extended version of GIDS scale called eGIDS, Extended Graded Interdisruption Scale, by adding more categories to the scale to increase its scope and reach. According to Lewis and Simmons, any language situation can be evaluated by answering 5 key questions about identity, function, vehicularity, literary acquisition status, state of intergenerational language transmission, and a societal profile of generational language use. UNESCO also in 2003 identified 6 major evaluative factors for determining the vitality of language, which includes intergenerational language transmission, absolute number of speakers, proportion of speakers within the total population, transition existing language domains, responses to new domains and media, and materials for education and literacy. Each of these 6 factors is to be assessed along a 6-point scale denoting the degree of endangerment, with grade 5 signifying no threat and grade 0 as extinct. Apart from these models and research works, the model given by Giles, Boris and Taylor 1977 is praiseworthy. The model is known as Ethno-Linguistic Vitality Model. The model is used to describe the complexities of intergroup relations between linguistic communities. They defined ethno-linguistic vitality as that which makes a group likely to behave as a collective entity in intergroup situations. Giles, 1977. This is the basic model given by Giles and Boris. In the basic model, they have given 3 structural variables of vitality. The first one is status variable, second one is demographic variable, and third one is institutional support variable. We can see in the status variable, we have the economic status of the language, social status, socio-historical status, and language status. In demographic variable, we can see the distribution of number of speakers, the concentration of the speakers within the national territory or outside the territory. And then we can see mixed marriages, immigration, and then in institutional support factors, we can see the formal support, that is the use of language in mass media, in education, in government services, and in informal informal this heading, we can see use of language in industry, religion, and culture. This is the basic model given by Giles, Boris, and Taylor, 1977. In this model, they have given 3 structural variables, which include demographic factors, status factors, and institutional support factors. And a group's strength and weakness can be assessed objectively while using these 3 variables to give a rough status of ethno-linguistic groups as high, low, or medium. This is termed as objective vitality. And it was argued that more a group scores on these 3 variables, that is status, demographic, and institutional factor variables, more it has chances to act as a distinctive collective entity. And conversely, groups that score very low on these vitality variables and these factors are expected to assimilate with the dominant group or cease to exist as a distinctive group. Demographic factors, besides the number of individuals representing the group, reflect the concentration of group members in and outside the traditional homeland, as well as the patterns of immigration and immigration. Support of the governmental, social, and media institutions in terms of the representation the group and its language has received, serve to enhance their vitality as a distinctive collective entity in comparison to those groups who lack this kind of support. This was research done by Harwood et al. In 1994. Institutional factors is further enhanced by the quality of leadership produced by the community who can represent it at various forums. However, the actual factor or individual judgments can also be assessed to assess a group status, demographics, and institutional support. In this case, group members may believe that they have a worse social status in comparison to outgroup members than quantitative or objective data. So as a result, vitality research developed subjective vitality questionnaire to assess how actually group members perceive their strength with reference to the outgroup members. The subjective vitality questionnaire was devised by Boris, Giles, and Rosenthal in 1981. They said that result of this questionnaire, vitality questionnaire, was formulated. It is possible to measure how group members view their own group and outgroup on critical vitality items using this questionnaire. Giles, Johnson, and Boris also argued that objective and subjective vitality provide a beginning point for investigating the changing relationship, that is sociological, and social psychological, that is individual theories of language, ethnicity, and intergroup relations. Since the vitality framework has received a considerable attention, and a lot of research has been done over minority and ethno-linguistic groups all over the world. We can see a research done by Sachdev and Boris 1993, Alon and Landry 1994, language and identity of ethno-linguistic vitality of Aboriginal people of Canada. We can see papers by Yagmore 2003 and 2011, and even Martin Ehla published several papers. But in Indian context, no study has applied this framework to the study to
Zahid, sorry to interrupt. You have 5 minutes left now.
Okay. So in my paper, I will briefly discuss how how the perceptions, how subjective vitality perceptions of Balti as adolescents have regarding their community. Since very little is known about the vitality, ethno-linguistic vitality of Baltis of Kargil, so no agency, government or otherwise has been set for raising awareness and garner efforts towards the preservation of ethno-linguistic minority group. So there has been no institutional support in favor of minority ethno-linguistic groups in J&K. As a group lives in far-flung area of Kashmir, wherein temperature drops to 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, which has resulted in the seasonal migration of the people of the community. So this migration has resulted in the weakening of the vitality of the group. So for the present study, a customized questionnaire was prepared after taking insights from the same subjective vitality questionnaire framed by Boris et al. The questionnaire asked about the short information about the demographic profile of the participants. Also, it sought information on subjective vitality. Questions like regard for Balti community locally, internationally, use of Balti in public domain, use of Balti in mass media, and other things. 100 adolescent speakers from Balti from Kargil were given the questionnaire and information was sought. Regarding the subjective vitality perceptions among adolescent Balti speakers, when asked about the perceived birth rate, almost 73% of the participants reported that their birth rate is increasing, and 3% of the participants reported that their birth rate is decreasing much, and 11% of the participants cannot make any opinion. Regarding the perceived proportion of Balti population, almost half of the participants reported that their population is below 10%, while as the percentage of participants that reported that their birth rate is below 30, the percentage is 8%. Regarding and 20%, below 20%, there are 43% participants who reported that their population is below 20%. So I will conclude. The subjective vitality is reflected in the responses of the members of the group presents a comparative healthier picture than what existed on the ground. Strong subjective feelings among group members have been reported to increase overall vitality of the group. The participants of the study had reported a strong subjective feeling for their cultural and historical achievements of their group. The population of the Baltis according to 2011 census is 13,774, down from 20,053 in 2001. The erstwhile state was home to 12,399 Baltis. Baltis have also shown a negative digital growth of 31.31%. The majority of the population have reported their group strength as less than 10% of the population of Kashmir. However, there is a significant number of participants who have reported an exaggerated view of their populations. However, in reality, the total population of all the groups comes close to only 1% of the population. It was found that the minority community under study have maintained endogamy to a larger extent, and the participants have reflected the same feelings in their responses. The participants have presented a mixed feeling regarding the status enjoyed in respective community and the associated languages in Kashmir. Regarding their vitality, we can say that their vitality is weak. The group is very small. They have small population, negative growth rate. They are continuously migrating to other parts of the state like Srinagar and Gandarbal. They have strong assimilatory tendencies. They have weak socio-economic status, and in many instances we can see they have been using other languages like Urdu and Kashmiri. So there is beginning of language shift. And on the other side, we have some strengths of the group. They have intact intergenerational language transmission, and most of the participants have reported that they practice endogamy. They have a good sense of belongingness. positive community evaluation, and the most important thing is that their languages have a written script. Thank you.